Imagine finding a letter you wrote years ago. Not a journal entry. Not a note you vaguely remember. A letter.
Sealed. Addressed.
Finished with a signature you can't deny. Now imagine that letter describing a life you've never spoken about. A choice you buried so deeply you convinced yourself it never happened. A betrayal so personal that even remembering it could destroy what you've built. For Sarah, this wasn't imagination. It arrived on a Tuesday morning. No return address. No warning. Just a thin, yellowed envelope sitting quietly among grocery flyers and electricity bills. At first, she almost threw it away. Almost. But then she saw the handwriting. Her handwriting. Careful. Slanted slightly to the right. The same way she used to write when she was nervous. The same way she wrote when she didn't want to make mistakes. Her fingers went cold. Because she didn't remember writing any letter like this. And yet, there it was. Proof that the past doesn't stay buried forever. Sometimes it waits. And sometimes, it comes back written in your own hand. Sarah's day had been ordinary in the most forgettable way. The kind of day that passes without leaving a mark. She woke up before her alarm. Lay still for a moment, listening to the hum of traffic outside. Thought about coffee. Thought about work. Thought about nothing in particular. The house felt calm. Safe. Predictable. She liked it that way. Predictability meant control. Control meant the past stayed quiet. She made breakfast. Answered a few emails. Folded laundry that had been sitting in the dryer overnight. Then she heard the mail slot. That hollow metal sound as envelopes slid onto the floor. She didn't rush to check it. Nothing important ever came by mail anymore. Eventually, she picked up the stack. Bills. Advertisements. A political flyer she immediately tossed aside. And then the envelope. Thin. Slightly creased. Yellowed at the edges like it had lived in a drawer for a long time. No stamp she recognized. No return address. Just her name. Written by hand. Her stomach tightened. It wasn't the handwriting that scared her yet. It was the fact that someone had written her name slowly. Deliberately. As if they wanted to make sure she noticed. She turned it over. Still nothing. No sender. No explanation. Only when she flipped it back did she see it. The handwriting. Her handwriting. Her knees actually weakened. She sat down at the kitchen table, without realizing she'd moved. She stared at the envelope for a long time. Long enough for the coffee to go cold. Long enough for her phone to buzz with a work notification she ignored. She tried to tell herself it was coincidence. Handwriting can look similar. People mimic styles, all the time. But she knew better. This wasn't similar. This was hers. From the pressure of the pen. From the way the S curved slightly too wide. From the tiny habit of crossing her T just a fraction too high. She hadn't written like this in years. Because she hadn't been that person in years. Her first instinct was to destroy it. Rip it open. Shred it. Throw it away and pretend it never arrived. But something stopped her. A feeling she hadn't felt in a long time. Fear. Not fear of danger. Fear of memory. Because deep down, a quiet part of her already knew, whatever was inside that envelope was something she had worked very hard to forget. She didn't open it right away. She carried the envelope from room to room like it weighed more than paper should. Kitchen. Living room. Bedroom. Everywhere felt too exposed. She finally sat on the edge of her bed, the envelope resting in her lap like an accusation. Her hands were shaking now. She told herself she'd just peek. Just enough to confirm it wasn't real. The seal was old. The adhesive barely held anymore. It opened with a soft tear. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Folded neatly. She unfolded it slowly. Line by line. The first sentence stole the air from her lungs. If you're reading this, it means I finally lost the courage to keep pretending. Sarah's vision blurred. She knew that sentence. She had written it late at night, sitting on the floor, back against a bed she no longer owned. Her heart pounded. She kept reading. I don't know who I'll be when this finds me. I don't even know if I'll recognize myself. Her fingers tightened around the page. The words felt intimate in a way nothing else ever had. Because they weren't just memories. They were her thoughts. Untouched, unedited, preserved exactly as she had felt them. Each sentence unlocked something she had locked away. A different apartment, a different mirror, a different version of herself. Then she reached the part she had truly forgotten. The part she wasn't sure she could survive remembering. What I'm doing would destroy them if they knew. But stopping feels like losing the only part of me that still feels alive. Sarah closed her eyes. Her chest ached. Because now she remembered. The secret life. The double existence she had lived so carefully, so quietly, that even she had convinced herself it hadn't been real. And worse, she remembered who she had betrayed. The memories didn't come gently. They crashed in. She was 24 again, living in a city that made her feel invisible and limitless at the same time. Her life back then looked perfect from the outside. Stable relationship.
Steady job.
Friends who described her as lucky. But inside, she felt hollow. Unseen. Like she was watching her own life from behind glass. That's when it started. Small at first. Late nights. Unanswered calls. Conversations she never mentioned to anyone. She told herself it was harmless. That she deserved something that was just hers. The letter described it all. How she learned to lie without flinching. How she memorized schedules so no one would ask questions. How she split herself into two people and convinced herself both were real. The betrayal wasn't sudden. It was gradual. 1,000 tiny decisions that all leaned in the same dangerous direction. And the worst part? She hadn't felt like a villain then. She had felt justified. Lonely people always do. As Sarah read, she saw herself clearly for the first time. Not as a monster, but as someone capable of becoming one. By the time she finished the letter, her hands were numb. The final lines were the hardest. If this ever comes back to me, I hope I'm brave enough to face what I did. Because running only works until the past learns where you live. She folded the paper carefully, placed it back into the envelope, and sat in silence. Her present life suddenly felt fragile. Every relationship, every smile, every moment built on the assumption that the past was over. She thought about the people who trusted her now, about the life she had rebuilt so carefully. And she realized something terrifying. The letter wasn't just a memory. It was evidence. Proof that what she did wasn't imagined, wasn't exaggerated, wasn't forgiven just because time had passed. Someone had kept this. Someone had sent it, which meant the past hadn't forgotten her either. She had a choice. Burn the letter. Pretend it never arrived. Continue living as the woman she had become. Or face it. Not just privately, but openly. She spent the night awake, holding the envelope, weighing silence against truth. By morning, she knew. The letter had already changed everything, whether she shared it or not. Because once you remember who you were capable of being, you never fully go back. Sarah didn't know what forgiveness would look like.
She didn't know who would stay.
She didn't know who she'd lose. But she finally understood something the younger version of herself hadn't. Secrets don't die. They wait. And sometimes, they come back written in your own hand. Some betrayals don't happen in a single moment. They happen quietly, in choices no one sees, in lives lived just slightly out of frame. And the most dangerous ones? They're the ones we commit against who we could have been. Because the past doesn't need to chase you. It only needs patience. And eventually, it finds its way home.